Hello, my name is Braindance.
And I'm Awesome Ross, and you're listening to the Inner Gamer Rod, or watching, whatever. You're somewhere.
Today, we will be talking about Cyberpunk 2077. The Night City Wire live stream occurred last week, and it had all kinds of information about story, gameplay, and a new feature called Braindance. What is Braindance, you may ask? You should stay tuned to find out. Oh, also, Netflix and Cyberpunk 2077 are teaming up to make Edgerunners. So CD Projekt Red was like, let's just make an anime. And then they're making an anime, and that's also coming out. So we got a lot to talk about here in this episode. Stay tuned right now. After this bumper, hit that subscribe button. Let's go right now. Let's do it.
And as always, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell. Yes, Brett said it. Bang the bell.
Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red had their first ever Night City Wire episode. And what I thought was just going to be a one-time event is actually going to be episodic showcases leading up to the release of the game, now scheduled for November 19th on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And in this Night City Wire, they revealed some new content information. They showcased a new story trailer. They jumped into what's called Braindance, which is a new gameplay mechanic, which we'll talk about here shortly. They announced some more gameplay features that you can do in the world. They revealed a collaboration with Trigger, a company, a studio that does anime, as well as Netflix. They're making a anime called Edgerunner that's coming out in 2022, which is a little bit further than I thought it would be, but whatever. And that's the overall gist of what happened. So we're going to dive into each one and talk about it a little bit. First up, we had the gameplay trailer where they show this whole trailer, all kinds of cool action stuff happening, beautiful graphics, super immersive world. And then at the end of it, they were like, oh, and by the way, that's just the prologue. And I was like, what? That's just the prologue? Are you serious? There's a lot of stuff that happened in that, but it got me really hyped. I mean, there is a lot of really cool stuff to see in this trailer. I mean, a lot of stuff that we've seen pieces of before, but everything that's... Why is my thing making noises? There we go. But I mean, the thing that continues to amaze me about this game is just how real everything looks and how immersive it is. And I mean, there's stuff moving everywhere. There's lights and there's people and there's things interacting with one another. All this stuff happening, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful world. Austin, what do you think about it?
Yeah. Again, I've been saying this every time something comes out for Cyberpunk. I'm tired of seeing everything. Just give me the freaking game at this point. Jeez, like I'm ready. Let's do it. And now it's even farther back. I'm upset, but not that upset because we're gonna get this year. Well, see, everything's happening, all the craziness. Like we had something to look forward to. It was Cyberpunk. It was The Last of Us, but now it's Cyberpunk, and now we have to wait longer. And I don't know if we can wait that long. We might all be dead by the time Cyberpunk comes out. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully
I
not.
hope
No,
I'm still around to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah. I'm being overly dramatic. Y'all know what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's cool watching the trailer here because they show a lot of different content of they showcase some of the like hacking into like corporate buildings. They show you some of the Braindance features. They show you some of the cutscene mechanics. I mean, they show you driving around in the city and outside of the city. There's just a lot of pieces of things happening, and there's just, it's such a different looking world. I mean, not only for The Witcher, for CD Projekt Red, I mean, it's very, very imaginative, the space that they've built here. And one of the things that they did with this game during this Night City Wire is they also allowed a lot of journalists to play 4 hours of the game. And so a lot of stuff after the fact came out of like, what is this game actually like? They played 4 hours of it, and how do they feel about it? And most everybody was like, there is so much to do in this game. It's unreal. And that has me really excited. But at the same time, like we were talking about earlier in Destiny, I'm also kind of nervous about it because, I mean, in the 4 hours that they played, they were like, they didn't realize that there was like a whole set of skill trees, 4 or 5 different skill trees under each main type of skill tree that's in the game. So there's like a whole suite of skill trees in there. It's a ton of customization options. There's side quests everywhere apparently, and the world's just massive. And I'm nervous that it's like, is it going to be too much? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like overdone, like way too much to do. Like they said in 4 hours, it seems like they barely even touched the surface of what they were supposed to do in that game. Like didn't hardly upgrade their guns, didn't hardly do anything. It was just that massive amount of time got them probably like 1% through the game, maybe.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Well, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, obviously. The Witcher 3 did a good job with like mission management, right? Like you knew what was the main mission, you knew what was a side quest, you knew there was like bounties you can go do, like monster bounties and stuff like that, and you knew where to find them and all this stuff, and it was pretty organized in my opinion. So I would hope that would come forward through all this stuff. So
yeah,
I'm not too worried about it, and it's nice that there's a lot to do in the city because it's a new world. There's a lot to explore. I'm sure there's ideas and politics and all these things that are going on, like new technologies, like cyberspace that you can probably explore. Yeah, I'm glad there's a lot packed into this, honestly. I'm sure there's going to be a main mission, just like The Witcher, that pushed me to continue wanting to play it and skip all the side quests and stuff like that. But it's nice that I like games that do that, push you straight through the story. And if you want to go back, there's all these side quests to dig in that could be, like Skyrim level side quests. They're their own main missions in a way. And you get to dive into like different factions and what they believe and all this stuff. Explore parts of the city you never would have ever got to in the main mission. So
yeah. A lot of the people I was reading about that played the first 4 hours, like some people approached it as I just want to play as much of the story as I can. Others were like I just want to explore as much of the world as I can. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that at the beginning of the game you choose one of 3 paths. You can be like a corporate person. You can be a person that's like out in the middle of nowhere, or you can be a what do they call it? Like a scrap rat or something like that. I forgot what exactly it was, but you choose one of 3 paths, and based on those paths that you get, you have 3 different types of openings to the game. So one of them puts you way out in the desert of the map. Another one puts you right in the heart of the city. And there's different scenarios that happen at the beginning, but they all kind of come to a head at the main story about 15, 20 minutes in the game. But there's a different introduction, which is kind of interesting. And based on what you pick will have different impacts on your story later on in the game. So like you and I could pick 2 different paths and have a slightly different story experience to talk about. So we'll have to like discuss what we want to do and see if we go a different path, just to talk about the nuances between the 2 as we progress through the game. Right. But that was interesting to see. And they also talked about, which I like this feature, is that when you're traveling through the world, when you get to a new section or area of the map, you get a phone call or like a text message or something like that from the local fixer in the area, and they inform you of like the nearby quests that are available, and then they populate on your map, so that it's until you discover that area, you don't know that there's stuff there, and then you get contacted about them and have like awareness that they exist, and they kind of go through a little bit of what they are trying to do in that area, and then you have markers that you can go to, and once you get to the marker, they give you more contextual information about what you need to do. So they're not like overloading you with a lot of stuff at the onset. You just have a little teaser of like, hey, there's a point of interest here, and there's a possible thing you can do, and then other things happen that are based off of you just traveling through the world. So you could be traveling through the world and you hear somebody getting beat up on the side of the road, so you pull over and go and help them from getting beat up. Or there could be there's cops everywhere, in the world, and they're responding to calls, and you can actually stop. There's like this like civilian something or another that you can do where you can actually stop and help the police if you want to, and stop them from like help them tracking down a bad guy, something like that. So there's a lot of this like environmental like things that happen as you're playing the game that you're exposed to. So it's not like, hey, here's a big huge map that has 5,000 things to do, go figure out what you want to do, which there still is that, but it also seems like they do kind of guide you towards these different things as you want to do them, if you want to do them. So I was excited to hear about that.
Well, I'm curious, I don't know if it was in there or not, you tell me, but like if you pick a different path, I wonder if you have different sidekicks, but in that kind of term, that will be with you.
Yeah, I don't know if there's different sidekicks. I just know that there's different. Like the story can go a little bit different
Yeah.
Like there might be some different side quests that could appear, or different things of that nature, or different responses that you have towards the thing.
Right.
I think those can kind of play into it a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question if there's different stuff, because I do know that there's that main guy that they showed at the beginning, the big brute guy. I forgot his name. I think his name's like Jesse or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you always end up, those 3 paths that you take always end up at the same place where you eventually run into him and do something with him, and then go down the main storyline. So those 3 come into a singular storyline. So it's not like you're kind of going down 3 parallel paths. They eventually come to a head and go down that same story at some point. But your first 15, 20 minutes of the game are unique to whatever path you take, you choose, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
But I'm sure that might branch.
Yeah. I hope it has lasting impacts on the whole story, which I would assume it would, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Another thing that they spent a lot of time on, which kind of, I think, lost some interest to people, like might be the first negative thing that people saw in the game, was this Braindance feature that they revealed, which I feel like is akin most to, if you guys remember detective mode in Batman Arkham, where you go into X-ray vision and you use that to investigate stuff. It's very similar to that. And Braindance is like an implant that people have that records a person's experience and lets you live through their memories. So you can take a BD recording and play it back as if you were there. But you're external camera, so you can like move around in the 3D space of reliving what they did. Also, if anybody played Tacoma, the indie game that came out from the creators of Gone Home, that had the same kind of feature. And I think it's kind of inspired by that a little bit. But this Braindance is apparently a way to give you more information into side quests, more information into people as you're investigating them. So if you pull up a BD of a person that like maybe robbed a store, which is the example that they showed in this thing, you can look at this scenario and see what happened and identify who was there in the room, and then maybe go find them and ask questions based on rewatching this memory that was recorded from this Braindance device. And there's audio cues that you'll hear audio sounds in the distance, and you can go navigate your viewpoint port to that area where that sound marker was, listen to it, isolate it, and it kind of like visually reconstructs that area a little bit, not in full 3D color, but enough so you can distinguish what's happening there, even though you couldn't visually see it in the person's line of sight. So there was some really cool tech that was going on in this, but it was just, they spent like 15 minutes on this feature and it got really slow because you don't really have a good context of how all the different ways you can use it in the game. So I was kind of surprised that they spent so much time on this, but it is really interesting either way. Like I'm excited to kind of play with it and to see what advantages it has in the world, like when you can use it, how you use it, stuff like that. But apparently it's a big storytelling device that lets you explore the history, philosophy, and different factions of the world in the game. And so I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. I mean, the graphics are awesome. I'm just like you said, Austin, I want to play it because there's just so much in here to explore and experience. And watching some of the side quests is really exciting. I heard the RPG mechanics, like now that people have had time to dive into them, are so deep, incredibly deep. And then every gun you can level up and enhance and improve. I mean, there's a lot of depth to this game, and I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because I'm like, will it be overwhelming?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Especially with the skill tree, because like usually in skill trees, there's things that no one ever they'll touch them once and then find out that they're not worth it, and then it's just like, why is it even there? I'm wasting my time trying to figure out what each one is. Like, and then obviously you can make it your own play style. So like, what's my play style? It's just it's a lot.
And I don't know if they'll guide you with that, because I was watching a GameSpot. They had a video stream of 3 people that played the game, and they all intentionally chose different paths to share their experiences about those 3 different paths. Oh. And the one guy, he did just what you said, because he's not a big RPG guy. So he didn't really know. He didn't think about, what is my build going to be when I start this game? He just picked a couple things that he thought, oh, that sounds cool, and put it together. And then he heard this other friend that he that was on the team played the game and intentionally chose hacking to focus on, as well as stealth. So he was a stealth hacker, and that's the focal point that he had on his skill tree. But this guy was like, oh, I'm going to pick a little bit from like brute strength, and I'm going to pick a little bit from hacking, which don't entirely go together. So he was like, kind of felt, I mean, it wasn't like it was a bad experience. It was just he kind of wished they gave him a little bit more guidance into how do I want to formulate my character. So it sounds like I feel like guides are going to be helpful for this game early on.
Oh yeah.
And people releasing stuff saying like, here's the best build for this type of gameplay. Here's the best build for this type of gameplay.
Well,
I bet you that's going to be rampant.
Imagine having to make that guide.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, seriously. There'll be a lot of different pieces coming into play with that.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Anyway, so and then they announced the anime, so that's pretty cool. Not much to be told about it, but it's from the Studio Trigger, which has a lot of experience working on a lot of content for Netflix and animes and stuff like that. So, pretty cool that they're going to expand that universe into an anime.
Yeah, it's perfect for it too. I'm excited. Hopefully, it's deep and dark and full of anime.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. It might be the first anime I watched through and through. We'll see.
Really? Wow. Okay. All right. Here we go, Brett.
Possibly.
This is it.
I don't know.